Oh, hello. Today we are checking in on my October reading so far. So this is my mid-month check-in. And this month, how has this month gone? Well, this month has not been great. I will say I don't want to get into this in too much detail because I honestly don't I appreciate the good wishes, but I don't want to invite a ton of well-meant but advice I don't really necessarily want right now. But I have been in the process of getting some not great health news. It's not the worst news I could get, but it is not good. I am luckily on a good path in terms of having the right doctors finally who are going to help, but basically, I've not felt well this whole year. It's been getting worse in the last few weeks, and I do at least now have a diagnosis of something that will be basically a chronic issue. I am in the process of getting help for that, but as a result of that happening, I just have not felt great. And so I've been doing a lot of comfort reading, even if it's not necessarily reading that I've been absolutely loving. I've been very much just leaning into, a little bit of mystery and a little bit of romance and then some nonfiction, because honestly, that's kind of just where my head's at these days. So yeah, I may be in a weird mood. I've been in a weird mood for more than a month now, so I apologize if that's a weird energy for you guys on camera, but it's such as life. So in terms of what I've read so far, I have read one thing that I absolutely freaking loved, and like I said, because I've not felt well, I've just been whatever I want to read, I'm gonna read. So I let myself read Act Your Age, Eve Brown, which does not come out until March of next year. And guys, it's so good. I will talk more about that at my end of the month check-in because it is definitely going to be one of, if not my favorite book of the month. It is an absolute delight for those of you who have been reading along in the Brown Sister series. This is a worthy finale to that trilogy. I still think Take a Hint is the best of the three, clearly to me, but this is the second best, and it was just charming. It made me laugh and smile, which is what I have needed. So that has been the biggest highlight of my reading month so far. Other things I've been reading a lot of sci-fi space romance. So I read a few authors, but mostly Ruby Dixon, because she's the queen. So she had When She Belongs. So there was two entries recently that came out in the Rizdaverse, and actually I didn't think either of them were great, but it's Ruby Dixon, it's the Rizdaverse. I just always enjoy them. When She Belongs, I think I gave a 3.5 star to because it was good. I enjoyed it, but it was serialized when it was being written, and you can feel it. It really needed some editing for it to become the best book it could be, but it was fun. The setup was human who is adventuring around with these space pirates. Sure, love that. And they find something that's really valuable, and humans are contraband, and it's just basically dangerous for them to just sort of be out and about in the space world. And so they park her with a trusted ally of theirs who is this hermit who lives at this remote space station, junking things, and love ensues from there. It's got a lot of Beauty and the Beast kind of vibes to it, and it was really fun. I just felt it was wasn't focused enough in its structure for it to be great. So that one was good. When She Dances was also good. It's a novella, but as the Rizdaverse is a very dark world for humans in space. All the humans who are out in space are contraband and were basically kidnapped from Earth to be either pets or to be sexually enslaved in some way. And this book is very forward in the experience of enslavement that humans are having. And so while I thought it was well done, it just was not a fun nonsense, which is kind of just what I want from Ruby Dixon. I like the just campiness of it. And this one was a little, it just was a little too in your face with the fact that she was being enslaved, even though it ended he was gonna free her. I don't know. It just was too much for me in terms of fully letting loose and enjoying it. So I read that one, and then there was a tie-in from those two books to a different series she had going, which was with the Corsairs, and those were a different group of space pirates. So I read Deceiving the Corsair yesterday, and very much enjoyed that. So now I'm gonna go back, that was book number 4. Now I'm gonna go back and read 1 through 3, and that I expect will be a good chunk of my reading in the back half of the month, because I just am really in a Ruby, I'm on a Ruby Dixon kick. She is like making me happy, and so we're just gonna roll with it. Other things I finished Wanderers from Chuck Wendig, which I liked. I did have pacing issues with it. It's about 800 pages, and I would say it probably needed about 100 pages taken out of the first half of it, but I was having a good time. I wasn't like mad at it. I gave it a 3.5 star because I ultimately, looking back, found parts of it a little unsatisfying, but like in the moment as I was reading it, I was enjoying it. So it's like a kind of in the vein of The Stand, or is it Swan Song? Like those big like apocalyptic or post-apocalyptic plague kind of sci-fi books. That's what this one was. And I liked all those elements. I mean, given what's happening in 2020, maybe be careful if you're not in the mood to read about a plague. But it was, I thought, really fun, satisfying. I enjoyed it. So I gave that 3.5 stars. I also finished Here and Now and Then by Mike Chen, which was a time travel sci-fi thing. And I liked that one really well. I gave it 4 stars. I thought had like genuine like emotion to it, which I sometimes find time travel as a trope, it ends up being a little melodramatic, I think, sometimes in the way the plots get structured or the way they unfold. But I thought this one like had genuine emotion that didn't feel manipulated to me, and I enjoyed that. So it involved like a dude from the future who's like an agent time traveling to the past to do various missions, and he gets stuck in the past, and then he starts a family. And then when his daughter, who he has created in the past, is imperiled, there's a possibility he can go back to the future and all of that. There's a whole like drama ensues from there. And yeah, I just thought it was genuinely emotional. Like I really liked the father-daughter relationship. It just was really well done. So I don't know that it was like a personal favorite, but I admired it in terms of, I thought it was a really well done book. A book I did not think was particularly well done was The Awakening by Nora Roberts. So it's the first, I read this as an ARC, it comes out in November. It's the first in a paranormal trilogy from her, and in this paranormal setup, there's like a fae land that you can access through a portal in Ireland, and there's like this big fae war happening. There's this woman who is living in our world who has like a lineage that makes her significant in this fae battle. All of the actual world setup and stuff, and like, by the way, everything I just told you pretty much is all that happens in this 500-page book. It is all set up, and it's Nora Roberts. So like in like moment to moment, I was having an okay time reading this book, but it didn't go anywhere as a book. Like I assume that in the subsequent books there will be a lot more plot, but I just felt like this was a real, it was like 500 pages of a prologue almost. So I don't know, if you're kind of willing to do the work of reading that much setup for a series. The series premise still, I think, seems like it'll be cool. I just don't know if I'm gonna continue because this was so all over the place. Like I really felt like she needed some editing and did not get it. And I don't know if this is sort of like a JKR situation where she's just gotten so big that like nobody will edit her anymore, but she needs it, and it was a bummer. I mean, I always enjoy my time like actually just in a Nora Roberts book just because I just like her writing style and the kinds of characters she writes. Like I wasn't having an actively bad time, but I think that the book had some definite weaknesses to it. So that was kind of a bummer. And then 2 other things I finished that are worth talking about. One was Zini. That's how you say her name, Zini. This is the second book in a duology from Rebecca Weatherspoon. I do think that there will be more in this series, it sounds like, based on the author's note. The main protagonist in this one was the best friend of our protagonist in Rafe. And I felt this way actually about both of these books. They have really interesting setups and family dynamics and conflicts, but the actual climaxes of the book feel really rushed, unsatisfying. I just felt like I was missing out on things because the setup of this was so cool in terms of Winnie is going back to her aunt's, where her aunt is because she has passed and she is basically like the main executor of her will. And in the will, she finds out that like to inherit a ton of money from her aunt that she didn't know she had. She has to marry this local guy who is also like a Scotsman who's randomly living in New York. Okay. He is like yummy beefy daddy, so sounds great to me. He's great. Their conflict and like ongoing relationship development was good. And then her family conflict was very delicious. Like there was a lot set up, but there was so much set up and I felt like I didn't really, I went back and tried to reread parts because I was like, did I just miss the payoff? I don't know. I gave it 3.5 stars because I really enjoyed a lot about it, but I thought that the actual payoff of the book was pretty unsatisfying. So I don't know. I mean, I will keep reading, but I've noticed that in both of those books where the actual climax felt a little anticlimactic and I was like, oh wait, you set up all this stuff and then all of a sudden it's just over. So I don't know. I'll keep reading, but I am noticing that as a trend in these books. So you guys, if you've read them, can let me know if you see what I'm talking about or if I'm just expecting too much. I don't know. And then the last thing I thought I'd mention that it was worth talking about that I've read so far is Meddling Kids by Edgar Cantero. It's a take on Scooby-Doo, but also a lot of the sort of like teen detective tropes. So like Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys, like all of that, those kinds of properties. There's lots of like really fun tongue-in-cheek references to those different properties in the book. Like there's a meta element that's comedic that I enjoyed. And basically Scooby-Doo stand-in gang put away this guy 20 years earlier, whatever, 15 years earlier, who they unmasked as like running a fake horror house kind of thing. And it's them revisiting that crime and wondering like, what if it's actually real? Like, what if there wasn't just a man in the mask? What if there's like actual horror elements happening? So there's a very Lovecraftian kind of vibe to this. And it's like the Scooby-Doo gang grown up and like cynical. I think there's a lot of cool ideas in this. I don't know that it really came together that well to my satisfaction. Like I gave this 3 stars because I think I ultimately just found it a little bit meh. There's a development of a sapphic relationship in here that felt really like perfunctory. And I mean, I cannot judge firsthand, but to me didn't feel like it was very credible. So I also thought that was sort of a swing and a miss in this book. So I wouldn't like steer someone away from this, but it wasn't as fun as I was hoping it might be. It was just sort of okay. And then in terms of what I'm currently reading, am I currently reading anything? I finished a lot of things recently. Oh, I guess I'm technically still currently reading Cast by Isabel Wilkerson. I picked that audiobook back up. I'm enjoying it. It's like fantastic nonfiction. I highly recommend it. We're gonna have a book club about it at work here in the next few weeks, so I'm excited to talk about it with people. Yeah, very thought-provoking so far. Totally would recommend, think it's worth people's time. It's basically recontextualizing the way that we think or talk about race in the US, and it's just super good. In progress on that. And then in terms of what I might read next, I have a few arcs that I'm wanting to get to, so I only have 2 left for this year. Hallelujah. One is The Bright and Breaking Sea, I believe is what it's called, by Chloe Neal, which is a fantasy with a lady captain of a ship kind of thing and a strong romantic element. So I may tuck into that this weekend. I think that one is going to be one I enjoy. That's out in November. And then The Case for Keto by Gary Taubes, who wrote Why We Get Fat and The Case Against Sugar, which are 2 nonfiction books that like really changed my perspective on a lot of things that I highly recommend. So I'm looking forward to The Case for Keto. So those are the 2 arcs I have left for this year. I think it is likely, just because I'm very much wanting to let myself mood read as much as I can, that I will allow myself to go ahead and read the next Highlander book from Lindsay Sands, because I have that out as an arc, which was very exciting to get. So there's a very good chance I will read that. And then I also have the Next in the Wayward Children series as an arc, which is, I believe, Across the Green Grass. And it's got some sort of like horse component to it. That sounded really intriguing. I feel like if you were a horse girl growing up, this is going to be a fantasy book for you. That was sort of the vibe I got from the description on the back. So those are the 4 arcs that I have my eye on that I may end up reading. But besides that, I am really wanting to mood read within romance. Like I mentioned, I think I'm going to polish off some more Ruby Dixon this month because I've really been in the mood for that. So I'm gonna get some sci-fi romance thrown in there, maybe some other kind of romance, I don't know. And then I literally just grabbed an entire pile of mysteries that I may read. So it's October, and I feel like this is sort of a mysterious time of year, reading wise for me normally. Of these, the one that I'm definitely going to finish up is The Sherwood Ring by Elizabeth Marie Pope. Me and my friend are having a live stream about this on Tuesday. I actually need to send her the link and make sure she's good to go there. We are going to talk about this on Tuesday. I am very excited to polish this off and to talk with you all about it. So this is a YA Gothic mystery kind of thing. I'm not sure. Maybe one of the things we can talk about is what genre this is. But anyway, historical fiction with ghosts, basically. So I'm definitely going to finish that off. It's got some October-y vibes. But then I've got just like a big stack of mystery horror kind of things. So we'll just run through the stack. First, The Haunting of Maddie Clare by Simone St. James. I have only read The Broken Girls from Simone St. James and absolutely loved it, and have been meaning to, I have like several of her books on my TBR, been meaning to try more, and I believe that this is like a ghost of somebody who may have committed suicide at some point, so I'll find out. We'll find out why Maddie Clare is so mad. A YA pick is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. I bought this on the recommendation of Jennifer Lynn Barnes, who wrote my all-time favorite YA mystery series, which was the Naturals series. So she said, if you like the Naturals, you should read this. And I was like, cool, let me get that. So I think that this is some kind of YA serial killer mystery, or YA like somebody's being killed at a boarding school kind of mystery. I don't know. She told me to buy it. She told me to read it. So that is what I'm gonna do at some point, possibly this month. Home Before Dark by Riley Sager is a haunted house kind of thriller that I've seen pretty good reviews on, a couple of mixed ones, but overall it seems like people are liking this, and it just feels like maybe seasonally this is the right time to kind of crack this one open and give it a go. So this may happen. Oh yeah, speaking of Jennifer Lynn Barnes, we have The Inheritance Games by her, and this is the beginning of a new series. I think it's a series from her that this book has been described as a mashup of The Westing Game and Knives Out, which could not be more up my alley. Like that just sounds like it was made for me. So also an author I love. Possibly we'll get to this month. Then Watching from the Dark by Gletha Lodge. This is one I got from The Publicist, and this was right when I was getting really sick back at the beginning of the year, and I just didn't end up making time to read this the way that I had planned to, so I would like to read this. I believe the setup for this is that somebody's either watching a stranger or they are like chatting online and that person dies and they're trying to figure out like what happened. So that like one crime, one witness, one question. Why didn't he call the police? Yeah, he didn't call the police. So it seems like a dark like mystery thriller kind of setup that could be good for this time of year. The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley. I didn't have great luck with the guest list, but this one, I don't know. I want to try this, and then if I don't like this one, I just know that she doesn't write the kind of books I like, even though she keeps using the trope I love so much, which is an isolated closed circle mystery, which actually both of these next two are as well. So this is an isolated closed circle mystery in theory, but it may be more of a thriller, and I don't know. We'll find out when I get to this one if it ends up being to my taste. I guess on a similar line, that was The Hunting Party. This is Hunting Game by Helene Thurston. I read a different book. Oh yeah, The Little Old Lady, An Old Lady's Guide to Committing Murder, I believe. I read that from this author and enjoyed it. Like the authorial voice was great and I thought it was fun. And this is one where I think they're all at a hunting lodge on a hunt and somebody dies, I believe is the setup for this. So again, it's a nice like wintry kind of vibe, I think, for an isolated closed circle mystery. And then finally, a classic one is Neo Marsh, Death and the Dancing Footman. This is more of like a classic kind of setup of an isolated closed circle mystery where it's kind of Clue-esque, I think. It's a country house, people start dying to some sort of pattern, which is just so my thing. So maybe this is something that needs to happen. Anyway, it was a big old stack of mysteries. I don't know which of those I will or won't get to, but I am hoping I can get to at least a few of them this month because this is the time of year. The fall is when I love reading mysteries year round, but this feels like mystery time. So that is a rundown of what I'm currently reading and what I may read next. I'm going to be pretty loose with myself and gentle with myself because these are just hard times, to be totally honest. So I'm just trying to get through it. Let me know if you have thoughts on any of the books that I discussed or anything that you are really enjoying that you're reading right now. Let me know that in the comments below. And yeah, I think that will do it for now. So if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, follow me on the social medias if you are so inclined. I have all that information listed in the description box below, along with a link to register to vote and a guide, also a link for a guide of how you can vote in each of the 50 states, like what your options are. And as you can see, I went and I voted today. I early voted. It was a longer line than I have ever seen for early voting. Some of that is great. I'm glad people are voting. Some of that is disappointing because in Tennessee, we originally were going to be allowed to mail-in ballot because of the plague, but then they rescinded that, so more people who want to vote early can't do that through the mail. So anyway, love it. All that to say, make your plan to vote. I went on a Saturday first thing in the morning. I had to wait, I think, about 30 or 40 minutes. It wasn't any big thing, and I officially did my civic duty. And so now, if I don't like the way things are going, I get to complain because your vote is your right to complain. So anyway, all that to say, long story there on voting. I hope you will make a plan to do that. And yeah, I think that will do it for me for today. Hope you are having an absolutely lovely day today, and I will just talk to you soon.